www.amazon.com. Search it up, first result with good reviews, one click buy, and it's new dashcam time. If this is how you or someone you know shops online, then I've got some good news for you. The Anker Rove R2-4K is a totally unremarkable dashcam, and I mean that with the highest note of flattery. For a camera that consistently tops Amazon's search results and bestseller rankings, which are both highly manipulated, the R2-4K is actually a decent product. No, it is not real 4K, and yes, there are better values out there, but for an impulse purchase, could have been worse. You could have ended up with something like this. But the Rove was a decent choice even if it's not the best camera in the game. So let's take a deep dive into this dashcam and also talk about what settings to use for optimal performance. This camera is a flat plate that hangs down from the windshield. It's incredibly plasticky to the touch and extremely lightweight. Feels almost like they accidentally sent me a demo unit missing the internals, but nope, it's the full camera. The front is just a lens, the sides have some ports and a video out port, surprisingly, and the back is all screen and buttons. On top is a friction mount which slides together and kind of leaves a little bit to be desired in terms of overall build quality. The screen at least is bright and vibrant, and the buttons do have a nice click to them, but the overall feel is quite plastic and hollow. On the other hand, this camera's user interface is pretty great. There are 2 separate menus, and a pleasant voice in an Australian accent will announce what menus you're in. It's nice to have the extra reassurance in case you're going at this blind. Other than that, the menus are pretty normal for a Novatech based camera. You've got the 2 separate menus, one for the camera settings and one for the overall system settings, like date and time.
System settings.
Up and down arrows navigate through the list. The OK button selects items, and the menu button backs out of the menus. On the main screen, start and stop recording with the OK button, and lock files as you're recording with the triangle button in the middle. Gotta double tap that. The Rove R2-4K's model number is just a model number. It does suggest that this camera films at real 4K, but that's actually not the case. The name is a little bit misleading, as it actually is a 2K image sensor, therefore maximum 2K real resolution. The best setting to use on this camera in terms of detail is 1440p 30, 2K, whatever you want to call it, as that is the highest resolution that this image sensor is actually capable of capturing. The fake 4K, it's 2880 by 2160, this weird and wonky upscaled video, and only 24 frames per second. It's not that 16 by 9 rectangle we know and love, it's a square, just kind of squarish. Anyways, long and short of that is stick to 1440p or 1080p, as going for that higher video quality, it's available in the menu, but it doesn't really actually improve things over the other settings. Otherwise, video during the day is quite good, with nice color and decent exposure handling. That means bright things are not too bright and dark things are not too dark. License plates are readable mostly when stopped or occasionally even in the oncoming lane, especially on roads that are not super wide, don't have a median. Little bit of a nerdy side tangent here. The image sensor and processor in this camera, this combination here is reminiscent of the early days of my YouTube channel, back when I first reviewed budget action cams. These cheaper products were actually trying to make a name for themselves and compete with GoPros and higher end action cams. Some of the better cameras use this Novatech processor and OmniVision sensor in order to produce really good quality 2K video at a time when GoPro was doing real 4K but also didn't have like image stabilization or some of those real nice to have features. I have a bit of nostalgia for those days when sub $100 action cams were actually decent. These days, most of what you get is basically just e-waste packaged up to look pretty. This OmniVision OV4689 sensor was the creme de la creme of $50 GoPro clones back in the day. Anyways, these days buying a $50 action cam, instead of getting you video quality similar to this dash cam, gets you something more like this. Ugh. Back to the Rove. The downside of being based on an action cam sensor from the dark ages of 2018 is that there have been leaps and strides in low light sensor performance, with newer image sensors bringing light to darkness. This camera, however, is based on a crotchety old image sensor that OmniVision probably made 3 billion of and are just pumping out into the market for cheap. And while it's pretty damn good during the day, at night things are darker, noisier, and have less detail than modern Sony Starvis sensors. This puts the Rove R2-4K decidedly middle of the road for low light performance. There are worse cameras out there, tons of worse cameras, but there are better ones too, and even at the same price point. Overall, for low light performance, don't expect to read license plates unless you're stopped and the conditions are ideal. One of the other potential drawbacks to this camera versus other cameras at this price point is its built-in battery. This can reduce the camera's lifespan if it's used in hot climates, and it doesn't necessarily mean the camera will outright fail or explode, but batteries do not like hot temperatures, and especially excessive exposure to hot temperatures. There is one big benefit to having that battery though. The camera offers a basic parking mode without any extra wiring or installation. Basically, plug it into the 12-volt lighter socket, enable the parking mode, and the camera will detect if there's a bump or jostle, take about 5 seconds to turn on, and then record for 20 seconds before powering itself off. So while that's not an ideal parking mode that captures the impact and a couple seconds before the impact as well, that is super useful for somebody who does not have the technical skills to hardwire a dashcam, or for situations like you're borrowing a friend's car, renting a vehicle, or using a ride-sharing service that you can't install a dashcam to with hard wiring. The built-in battery is ideal for running into the supermarket or for parking at work.
Parking mode got activated.
However, in our tests, it did not last overnight. Speaking of rental cars, that's what I primarily tested this camera in, was a rental vehicle. In my own vehicle, I have 2 cameras generally installed full-time and sometimes 1 or 2 others that I'm testing, and a lot of the time those require complicated wiring, running the wires around and down, running rear camera wires and all that jazz, whereas the R2-4K is very simple. Essentially just stick the suction cup mount to the windshield, plug it in, and go. Enabling parking mode even allows a little bit of capture when the car is stopped. All that easy. I don't exactly advise having little danglies like the USB cable running from the camera down into the 12 volt. Definitely do spend the time to wire it up and around, down, so it's not in your field of view, because in some jurisdictions you can get a ticket for having things hanging off the windshield. 2, 1. This is a teaser for the Nextbase 622GW Real 4K Dashcam. This is a feature-rich, high-end dashcam from Nextbase, which includes some unique features such as image stabilization and bad weather detection. We'll have a full review of this camera coming out in a couple weeks, so stay tuned to our YouTube and social media. So yeah, overall, set this camera to 1440p, enable the parking mode, plug it in, and go. Sure, the camera feels like it was made out of the plastic scraped from the interior of an injection molding system while it was being made. Sure, it's based on a chipset that's kind of between a dinosaur and a grandma in age. And sure, there's better cameras for the money out there. But with old age does come some wisdom, and this sensor-processor combination has been used successfully for many years in dashcam and action cam products. There's a good reason why it stuck around. The video performance, during the day at least, is really dang good. At night, it's not too bad either. The menus are easy to navigate, and Rove, bless their hearts, has a marketing strategy that's consistently gotten this product to the top of Amazon's bestseller lists. Should you buy it? I'd recommend going for the Viofo A119 V3 instead if you made it all the way through this video. It's less expensive, has better build quality, better performance, and has a super capacitor. So while you don't get easy parking mode with the A119, it should last a little bit longer in hot climates. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and all of those things helps. See you in the next one.